everyone, and happy Friday to you. I'm so excited that you're back with us for another special edition of the Breakthrough Show. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and like I said, really excited to be here with you today because we have an incredible guest for you. She is a branding visionary here with us today, a global expert in making brands shine bright through her company, BridgetBrands. I recently had the privilege of recording an episode of her Brands Talk podcast, which I'm super excited to come out very soon. And I loved what she does. And also I was sharing with her before the show that she asked me questions I've never been asked before. And I really believe that when it comes to branding, someone that's able to think outside of the box like that and see maybe sides of things that other people don't see, it's going to bring something really special and amazing to your brand. So without further ado, I would love for you to give a warm virtual welcome to Bridget. Welcome, Bridget. I'm so excited to have you on the Breakthrough Show today.
Hello, Jessica. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. It's a pleasure.
Thank you
to
so
be
much.
on your show today.
Yes, I know we've already done, we're doing the swap, and I had the privilege of being on Brands Talk, which that was super fun for me because I really never had the opportunity even to dive into the creation of the brand that's been the Breakthrough Show Network. So thank you for that opportunity.
You're so welcome. And I love to hear all these personal stories, how brands evolve, how brands are created. And it has very much something to do with our own personal story, with the pain we go through. And it very much, becomes the purpose in life. For most of us, it does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I would love for you guys to chime in if you're watching us live today or on the replay. Let us know any questions that you might have or any comments throughout the show. I know Miss Brittany is in the front row seat today. Good. Happy Friday to you, Miss Brittany. Good to see you today. And I know Brittany recently had a big shift in branding, so I'm sure that this episode is going to be super fun for her as well. Let's go. You have had quite the journey.
Quite the journey,
and getting into where you're at now, being literally the goddess of branding, okay? But you were a flight attendant, among other things. How in the world did you get from there to here? Like, is it possible to sum it up?
It's possible to sum it up, but it's going to take me a while. So why everything unfolded like that? I think because I went with my intuition. I just always jumped. I mean, it was calculated risk, but still, I always took a turn. I always did what I felt I needed to do. I pushed myself, or I felt like I'm pushed. And if I did not push myself, the universe was pushing me even harder. When I was hesitant, when I was not courageous enough to just, okay, I have to go the next step. I was hesitating and I was not quite sure. Should I, shouldn't I? It's still safe, but you never know. And then suddenly you're confronted with the situation. And then it's usually a little bit more difficult than it would have been if you had taken the step.
Right.
On your own terms.
Right. Was there a series of things that happened, or would you say there was one particular moment where you said, okay, I'm doing branding now?
No. It kind of unfolded. It's, brands was always something that I was after. When I was a flight attendant, I traveled the world, and that was 30 years ago I started. Oh my God, 31 years ago I started.
We don't have to tell anybody how long it's been.
After college, I wanted to become one. It was my child's dream to conquer the world, and I was always interested in other cultures, other mentalities, and going here and there, and especially long haul flights where you have layovers of a week or even longer. So sometimes we went to Bangkok 4 days, then going to Sydney for another week and back to Bangkok, another 5 days, Hong Kong and back to Vienna. So it was like every month I went to almost all the different continents. It was really an interesting lifestyle, and I learned so much. And back to branding, I understood why people purchase something, because when you stay there for a week or even longer, you get to know local people, you get an understanding, you learn their culture, you dive in, you mingle, and you also explore and you see what kind of brands are right now really trendy in the United States, what's happening in Europe. Europe usually lags a little bit behind, and Asia even more so. Now it's different, but at that time I was really interested in retail chains and in fashion brands. So it was always part of me. And and after a while, I mean, I loved traveling and I loved to serve people, and I like to host people. And it was always my passion to offer the best possible service with my team, with my multicultural team, I have to say. But I was intellectually not really challenged anymore after 5 years. And I was unhappy. And I knew my contract is going to be terminated when I turned 32, because that was the case at that time. We had
really?
32 was the end date.
Because
we were getting too old.
I had no idea. I'm completely ignorant to this. This is wild to me.
I was horrified. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing when I turn 32? Then they extended it to 34. But still, I was like, what am I doing after that? I had a business school degree, but a business school degree after 14, 15, 16 years, what is that worth? I mean, the world is turning, the world is evolving. And at the same time, I was intellectually not challenged anymore. I kind of hit the ceiling where I was, and I thought, okay, let's start all over again and become a student. And then I started studying international marketing and management. Branding was a huge part of that.
Right.
And the second kind of degree, it was kind of a combined study. Was business education. So I'm a certified teacher as well. So I'm allowed to teach at universities, and that's what I did. And also looking back for 23 years teaching at universities around the world. But there's a lot of in between that also happened. So
I know it's a lot. It's hard to, especially when there is that, long of a period of time, it's hard to really rein it in and say, this is the moment, or this is the exact things that happen, because there are, I feel like, so many things that play into our journey, especially when we have a huge shift in what we do for work. And I'm sure you see that in the world of branding too, that people's journeys probably play pretty heavily into their brand, right?
Yeah, especially when I started my own business before COVID hit. You get to think about your own journey. You go through all the stages, because everything that you're doing happens for a reason. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. We have to figure that out, what we take out of a certain lifespan. What do I take out of my time as a flight attendant? What do I take out of the time as a student? What do I take out of the time when I was a corporate? What do I take out of this was also kind of a breakdown when I worked with a company in the real estate business before the recession in 2008. You know what happened? We went bankrupt within months. And I was building up the market research department in this big corporation, and suddenly I was so involved. I took on this identity of being, the head of market research, and suddenly there was no job anymore. So I lost my identity in a sense. I had to redefine myself. Who am I as a person? Where do I want to go? And thank God, I was also teaching on a side already at the university. On Saturdays, I taught. The other 50 hours a week, I was working in my job. So they asked me then, do you want to take on more teaching assignments? And I had lost my job. I thought, okay, let's do that. And so I did it. So I morphed into becoming a professor. More and more, I took on more and more teaching load, and suddenly I was a full-time professor, teaching professor. Yeah. But
That's
I had
amazing.
a contract that terminated after 8 years. So it's always terminating with me something, you know, something that cannot be prolonged or turned into something else. So that was another thing. Okay, it's going to terminate in 2020. And I knew I always wanted to become my own boss. I just wanted to start my own business sooner or later, but I never was courageous enough. I always thought I need to do this before and that before, and I have to do that certification. And, you know, you're never finished. But then I think also life tells you there's a stop now. Now you have to get serious. And it happened with me in 2020, end of February, when I started my own business after this ride from student to corporate and then professor and then this and that. But it was a really nice life so far, and a lot of, you know, discoveries, what I'm capable of, looking into here, looking into that. And I think it's important to see different facets of jobs, of identities that you can own, of a being, in order to really serve someone at the end of the day with what you really want to become. You know, you need all that experience prior to helping others to have that foundation of know-how and experience. And for me, it's also when I talk about brains and brain identity building, I come from a side where, for me, it's important to build on scientific proven models. It's for me, that is important to have that know-how in the background that I'm building up on, because it's part of my authority, and makes people trust me with all what I am as a person. So yeah, there's more coming into that, but it's just to give you a little background of why I'm here today now.
Well, and I love how you shared your story, because for me, listening to you, there's so much personal responsibility in there that you've taken, Bridget, of saying, like, look, you know, the things are happening for me, not to me. So when you have that particular belief in, you know, just as one example, you know that you don't have time to dwell on the fact that you've got these time limits. Okay, they're going to fire me when I'm 32. They're going to fire me, you know, in 8 years or whatever it is. You just know, okay, this is happening for me, and I'm going to move forward to the next thing, whatever that looks like. And so not to say that it's not going to bother you at all. Like, you know, we're human beings, but you don't have a lot of time with that belief. You don't have a lot of time to dwell in that space. And I feel like you really use that to your advantage in moving forward.
Yeah, still it is really difficult, because for me it was even more of a journey, because I never felt good enough for everything. I had to work much harder. I grew up in an environment where playing small was the rule. It was not, you know, breaking out of a box and doing the unconventional. I was always an exotic person for everyone. It's like, why does she want to become a flight attendant? Why doesn't she take a normal banking job, a clerk in a bank? Why isn't she doing this? Why isn't she doing that? Why do you want to, you know, do something that is out of the normality? And so I always was asked to be quiet, and I never wanted to. It was just, and then there was always this conflict, an inner conflict in playing by others' rules and doing what I really desire, what I really want. So it was hard for me to own it and always justify my moves. This is hard, because you're always doubting yourself. Am I doing the right thing? Because other people do not believe in you, and then they will say, I told you before. So this is just always lingering in the air, that people watch you, they judge you. And then there's a lot of people that envy you for having them gone that path, or having the courage to to leave a job and do something new,
Right.
going into the unknown, because they feel safe, everything is fine. And it's easier to complain about things that are neglectable, actually, instead of owning it and doing it and taking responsibility. Yeah, if I fail, I fail. Now it's easy for me to say that. But still, I mean, that's how it is. And I think there's always a way to master, to go through something. And the interesting thing is that there's always people coming, these helpers, when you are in doubt, when you are losing hope, when you are not knowing how to survive the next month. There's always something coming up. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, and it's beautiful. It always worked that way, and I truly believe in it.
I love that. I love that. I know Caroline's joining us. Good to see you, Caroline. And she said, discovering your passion is important. And I know, was there anything in particular that you did to sort of ignite that flame for branding within yourself? Or was it just the experience you had of just being passionate about or fascinated by different brands?
I mean, I'm so much into the topic, and it always fascinated me of how brands evolve over time, of how brands go with trends, or how brands define themselves, and where we are now in the world of branding. And nowadays with the millennials and the Gen Z, so we go much more into transparency, into owning it and taking a stance for something, regardless of, no matter what, being authentic, showing that we care as a brand for our clients, for our customers, making a difference in their lives. And most of all, making the customer the hero of the journey, not you as a brand being the hero. I think there is this big shift that is going on, that we see our customers as the hero, because they incorporate our brains in their lives. How, because your brand defines actually a customer, because you're using it. Why are you using a certain brand? It's an extension of yourself. It's becoming part of your life, especially the high involvement brands, when it comes to computers, when it comes to high-tech products, when it comes to lifestyle products, So it's all about making a customer feel about you. And that is all about branding. So what it makes you feel, that was always so exciting, and that makes me passionate. And also, I come from this global branding, global brands like L'Oreal, like Porsche, like all these big global brands that you find everywhere around the world, and internationalizing, bringing brands into other country markets, localizing what is necessary to localize it, keeping everything else standardized. But then bringing that down to the personal level, because what applies to these big brands applies also to a certain extent to individuals, to us as people, as persons, because we are a personal brand. If we know it or not, if we are aware of it or not, we are always sending something out. People have a perception of us. Everything that we do, every time when we are in touch with someone else, we're showing ourselves in a certain way, and that makes a perception in others. So others have a perception of us. So that's why, for me, my passion is also about personal brands, and how personal brands align with the company brand. So there is also different facets of that, and especially when it comes to people who start their entrepreneurial journey, because branding, it starts with the person, and then as an entrepreneur with the personal brand, that then becomes the face of the company.
Right.
Yeah, so that's my passion, to help them to morph into that in that identity. You see, I'm passionate about it.
I love it. You are, and I have so many questions for you. We're going to take a super short break, you guys, and when we come back, I've got lots more branding questions for Bridget. We're going to dive into the world of branding and get her take on some current branding things going on now, and we'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere. Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com. Welcome back to this very special edition of The Breakthrough Show entitled Brands Talk, in honor of our guest today, Bridget, and her she's an incredible podcast, you guys. So make sure you go check that out, Brands Talk. I might know someone who's going to be a guest coming up on that show, so keep an eye out for that. I wanted to ask you, on the heels of that break, Bridget, so you go by Bridget when you're on shows and in your branding, BridgetBrands, but your name is very different than that. Can I ask you, so to share with us about your name and why you chose to go with Bridget instead of your full name?
Okay, so this is a funny story, because Brigitte is the German version of Bridget. So there's different versions out there: Brigitte, German version, and Swedish version. So actually, Brigitte comes from Sweden. So in Sweden, there's also the German version. French, it's Brigitte. So, and since I'm a global person, people have troubles with Brigitte because they cannot really remember it that well, or pronounce it not in the right way. I mean, even if there is even a right way, I don't know. So I always went with Bridget because that's something that everyone remembers.
Right.
And since there are several Brigittes also here in Austria, people just started calling me Bridget. And also in the airline, I was Bridget, hey Bridget. So then I went with Bridget. Brigitte is, the English version is Bridget. And then I went with BridgetBrands.
Yeah.
Because there is the story behind BridgetBrands, because it's Bridget with its different brands, because Brands Talk is an individual brand of Bridget when it comes to branding hierarchies. Yeah. And then I'm branding, so BridgetBrands.
I love it. Well, I mean, and it's an interesting topic, because I think so many of us maybe have been down the overthinking rabbit hole about the name of what we're going to call our company or our brand, right? And I love that there's a story behind yours as well, and that you went with something that's easy for everyone, because it's right. I've heard Brigitte, I've heard Brigitte, I've heard all of these different things. And so, making it simple for us Americans.
But there's another thing. I had to register it, however, in my real name, like doctor, because a Ph.D. Dr. Brigitte Bojkowszky, in consulting, because I could not register it as a trade name with BridgetBrands, Because brands in German means fire, something is burning. So it would be misleading.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's registered as Dr. Bojkowszky Consulting, but my trademark, so there's the difference, trade name and trademark. The trademark is BridgetBrands.
Yeah.
Right?
That's super interesting though. I would have had no idea that meant something about fire in German. We're learning. This is an educational show, boys and girls. We're learning new things today. I love it. Caroline said, Bridget, you are enough and worthy. She put that comment out there.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
And one of our friends over on LinkedIn said, Bridget is a rare blend of courage, wisdom, and deep understanding of her subject. So we appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And it starts with authenticity and integrity. Those are two big words that need to be behind your brand, right?
Exactly. Authenticity is most important. To be true to yourself, to own it. And along with that comes vulnerability. I think when you're openly communicating your story, you resonate with people. You resonate with their hearts. And this is about branding or brands as well. A brand has a duality. There's always the rational part and the emotional part. So the rational is always the head and the emotional is the heart. And we speak with both to our customers, but we resonate most usually when it goes first through the heart and then to the head. Right. Because then we remember. So that's why storytelling is so important. Storytelling, because people remember stories. It's all about stories. And this is a huge issue. And that's why also nowadays we trust companies, we trust brands who have a story to tell that is authentic. Yeah. And then of course, the user said integrity. Integrity is my fourth value. So I have 5 core values. Everyone should know about their core values. Yeah. My fourth one is integrity. And that means for me, following through, not owning the word, not only owning the word, not only saying something, but following through. And that is important. And when you can't, you tell, you explain. And that is also vulnerability, why something is not working. Worst case scenario.
Right. I love that. So, and it ties in. I mean, you didn't know coming here today that you were going to tie into all of these different things that we've been talking about on the entire network. Literally, we had 4 weeks on Beyond 2D that we just talked about integrity. And it was, I mean, just a deep dive topic. And so to hear about the importance of that behind your branding is really meaningful to me, because I think for many of us as entrepreneurs, one of our core values is integrity. It's at least I hope so. I'd like to think that that's a lot of our integrity. Caroline said your integrity is your word. Absolutely. And following through on it. I think that's so important. I want to kind of go back to basics for just a minute. For any of the super new business people or entrepreneurs out there, what does a brand encompass for you, Bridget? What does brand mean?
Yeah. So a brand is a necessity nowadays in this world. If you want to be one more of the same, you're a commodity. But a brand is really a necessity. Necessity. It's not an option. Huh? A brand is something that you own, you project to the world. It's something that people not only hear or talk about you, they need to feel it. They need to feel about you. That's what a brand should be. Yeah, it's the total sum of how someone perceives you as a person, as a product, as a service, as a company. Yeah, it's something you as a brand, a customer needs to understand exactly what kind of problems you are solving. They need to, when they have a problem, when they are in pain, when they desire something, when they want something, you should be the first thing, this top of mind, that they want to go for. You should be the first choice because you are being perceived as, the solution for whatever the problem is or for whatever the need that is. Yeah.
Right.
And branding is actually the act of shaping. You're shaping a perception. So a branding is you're creating a certain identity, whether it is a product, a service, or you yourself, or your company as an overall, right? You are sending something out with your tone of voice, with your products and services. And this is also expressed in colors, in shapes, in forms, in packaging, in a website, in all this physical evidence that you're using, the so-called brand elements. And that creates an image in customers' heart and mind, and that makes them feel something about you. That's branding.
I love that. I love that. Brittany was commenting. She said, when you were talking about vulnerability, she said, I really needed to hear that. I struggle with the vulnerability part when it comes to my business. And I also wanted to mention that as well. When you were talking about, the heart and the brain and all of that, I've heard so many entrepreneurs say that you shouldn't be emotional about your business, that you shouldn't be and I can't get on board with that.
Emotional, I think you have to differentiate here. A business is you should be emotional with how you emotional in the context of authenticity, of being vulnerable. I mean, still you are a business person. A business is something that you create, you want to live from, you want to make money with, should be kind of also a money-making machine in this very base core level. But there has to be this higher purpose, the passion you're burning for. It's a vision that you have, a mission that you're going for. You have a North Star. You want to serve the world with something. That should be emotional. Where the passion is, that is emotional. The story that resonates with our customers is emotional. I think you need to differentiate here. So a business it helps you to exist in this world and pay your bills. This is fact, right? But it's about the higher purpose, how you communicate that. I think the emotion should be in there.
Yeah, I could never. When I hear people say that, I just feel very disconnected with that because I feel like I put so much of who I am and my heart and my experience and all of that into what I do, that when something, when there's a challenge within my business, I really feel that. I really feel, that just like I would anything else that I'm passionate about, which you and I had the opportunity to talk a little bit about when I was on your show, but it's no different for me. Like I still feel that connection and disconnection and passion and not passion within my business because I do have that emotional connection to it. But I think the vulnerability part that Brittany is talking about, that's another thing that I think I've seen people really struggle with within their business. When it comes to branding, there's sort of that line, and we talked about this on your show as well, of how much should you share and how much shouldn't you, and how much of like that should tie into your branding and what should you never put on there. Do you have any thoughts or opinions about that?
I mean, this is not easy. Yeah. I mean, only sharing everything is great. Everything is fine. Everything is perfect. Who wants to be in touch with someone who is constantly perfect and polished and everything? Right. We are human beings, especially as business owners. We are the face of the company. We share when something is not really working out at the moment, or that we have kind of, some roadblocks in between, but they are here because we take away something from it. I think we should use it in that way. There's always a learning in these breakdowns. The breakdown comes just prior to a breakthrough, and that's what your show is about, right? So we share when we we have these roadblocks, these struggles, these challenges to overcome, because there is a lot of meaning in it. It helps us sleep. It helps us understand life. It helps us to take the next step. So I think in that way, it's good to share, because others learn from your failure. Where would we be? I think we need to get 300 years old if we would make all the mistakes by ourselves, if we have no one else to actually learn from, right? So if we all have to go through all the learnings ourselves, so that I think this vulnerability, these emotions, how we feel when we are in there and how we get out of it, is important. And I think it's also important that as a business owner, when you are going through the struggles, that you have people that support you. I have, for example, accountability partner groups. It's so helpful because you are surrounded by like minds who are going through the same challenges, who have your back in the moments where you're hopeless, where you're not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, where you feel like, I can't do it anymore. I cannot survive because no money is coming in. Everyone has that, usually at the beginnings. For the first year or 2 or 3, you're struggling because you need to figure it out where you need to be positioned, where your right target audience is. It's not coming from today until tomorrow. It's really a journey to get there. So have people that help you, that are on the same path, and maybe get a coach, who has this outset, really this professional perspective on things, who can guide you through that to make this journey a little faster, to speed it up.
Right.
So,
I mean, we know that if you need branding help, I know someone who you could call if you need help with the branding on the branding side. But it's that community aspect, I think, is so important. And I think it's something, honestly, we take for granted. I was just talking to someone the other day about the fact that we have this social media, and I feel like we are less social than ever. There's just sort of this mask of, we don't really know what's going on behind those posts and everything else, and those videos that people create. And so I think that one-on-one interaction is so important, and social media is not a replacement for like an actual accountability partner like you're talking about, or a coach, or that one-on-one interaction that I think is so important. If someone is just starting out, Bridget, with going, okay, I know I need a brand, and I know I need to figure this out, but I don't really like, can they just make a logo and pick colors and they're done?
No. And that's where all this mindset thing, the psychological aspects and the emotions, where that meets branding, is mindset. And branding starts with mindset. As always. Also when it goes then into the products and services. But for a business owner who is starting out, the first thing is not the logo. It's not how you express your brand through colors and logo and all these elements. It's coming much later down the road. First thing is to really shift your mindset into a business owner's mindset. It's about, what is my vision as a business owner? Where do I want to be in 3 years, in 5 years? Maybe having an overall vision, where do I want to be in 20 years, and then re-engineer it back here. But you need to have a vision about your business, a vision statement. The mission, how you get there. The vision always is the future state in mind. The mission is how you get there. And then you have your set of values you want to live by. You want to do business based on that value set. Then you're starting building your personal brand to discover and create an identity of you as a person, how you want to act. So this is already a huge process. And also in the mindset, I forgot about that, and this is really important. We always have a set of wonderfully designed limiting beliefs.
Who knows about those? Raise your hand.
I'm not good enough. how should this all work out? I'm not carved out for that, or whatever. I don't have money. I don't have this. I don't. Usually, we fall short of all these different things that we are very often conditioned, or just we make up ourselves because a lot of things that life told us. But it's you need to really work with that and dive deep into that, and then understand what needs to be let go and what do I take, turn around and go forward. So from limiting, turning around, is into empowering statements, into affirmations. And that is also branding, because you as a person, you need to know who you are, because if you don't know who you are, how do you want to serve someone else? Because you need to mean somewhere. So it starts with you, and then of course the customer. And you need to build a strategy and a brand that you authentically can live. You bring your inner, and that's why beauty and brilliance are my first two values, because everyone has that. Everyone has an inner beauty, an outer beauty. You need to understand it and own it and live it. And also your brilliance. Everyone has something that serves the world. I know that. We just need to figure it out, and very often it's closer than we think it is. So the beauty and the brilliance that you have, you bring, and you illuminate. And then
I love that.
So that is what I help my clients to see and create an identity with it, so that they can serve.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm upset with you, Bridget, because if I would have, I don't know where you were in my life back in 2017, my journey would have been so much more smooth if we would have known each other back then. But I love that. And Brittany said, who knew that I'd be crying during this episode? Thank you. You are such a delight.
Oh my God.
That's what we do here. We cry.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I'm so sure. I truly believe everyone has that. And it's just very often we are too shy to show it because we are afraid. We are afraid to get hurt. But please, and that's also something I still have troubles with. What do other people think about you? Especially those who envy that you take the leap, you take the step, you do something about it, you take action. And please do not listen to that. It's not good. It's your life. You are the master of your life. You define what is good for you, and you take the chance, and it's one life. I think we have to make the best out of it, and it would be a disservice if we are not leveraging our strength and make the best out of that and serve with what we have.
I love that. I wanted to ask you a final question before we go to our last break. And that's, say you've created a brand for yourself and you put it out there, and say it doesn't get the response that you thought it would get. Say that there's negative response or no response at all, which sometimes we get that. How many of us can relate to that, putting something out there and it's crickets, right? How do you suggest that we respond to that, Bridget? Should we just scrap it all and start from scratch, or what's your suggestion?
We have to look at it. What's going on here. You have to really figure out what is the problem here. Is it the product? Is it not resonating with the audience? Is it the right audience? Am I communicating not in the way the audience want to be communicated to or wants to interact? So it might be that you have the right product but the wrong audience, or it very often it's maybe a pricing thing, that you're speaking to an audience with your product in a way, so also your communication strategy that is not aligned with that particular audience that you're talking to. So it might be another audience. So there's a lot of different factors that fall into that, but you need to analyze what it is. I'm sure it's it's something that you can fix, but it needs time to reflect on it, and then setting up a new strategy or pivot the strategy that you're having. So I think everything is very situational, and it really depends on the company and on the person. And of course, very often you are overwhelmed with all of that. So it's good to have a fresh set of eyes looking at something like that. Hello. Who is guiding you through that? Yeah, because and here we get emotional too, because if we think, oh my God, I'm a failure, I can't do it because I'm wrong. No, there might be something. Maybe it's the communication strategy. Maybe it's the product is not really positioned. It can have many reasons for that. Please don't give up. We are not giving up. We are pushing through that. So we never give up.
You don't have to light a match and burn it all down. You don't have to do that. We're going to take one more quick break. You guys, we're going to be listening to Dorothy Auger's For Love poem in the language of German today by Daria Nasha. And we'll be right back to finish up with Bridget. Don't go anywhere.
Für die Liebe stehe ich ein. Für die Liebe. Für die Liebe stehe ich ein, selbst mit verwundeter Seele, selbst mit gebrochenem Herzen. Für die Liebe stehe ich ein, denn die Welt ist schwer getroffen, nicht nur mein kleines Fleckchen Erde, wo ich mich meistens in Sicherheit wähne, wo ich mich meistens wohlfühle, sondern die ganze Welt, überall, jeden Tag. Für die Liebe stehe ich ein, denn wir brauchen mehr Licht, nicht noch mehr Tote, nicht noch mehr Macht, nicht noch mehr Bomben. Für die Liebe stehe ich ein, sodass unsere Kinder in Sicherheit sind, sodass unsere Freunde behütet sind, sodass unsere Grenzen offen sind. Für die Liebe stehe ich ein, selbst mit verwundeter Seele, selbst mit gebrochenem Herzen.
Welcome back to the Breakthrough Show. We're here with Bridget today from BridgetBrands, and she has an incredible podcast. You guys don't forget to check that out, Brands Talk podcast. And I'm super excited to be a guest on that coming up here. And like I said earlier in the show, it was so much fun to be on that show because I got to dive into some of the branding things that I honestly never even thought about before or got the opportunity to talk about before. So I'm so glad I had the opportunity to do that with Bridget. I know that there are many ways that people can hear from you, Bridget, connect with you, work with you. Tell us what you have going on in your business right now.
Okay, so this is something that is very, 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 very current, actually happening next Monday. I'm running a challenge. It's called the Embody Your Brain Challenge. So if you are ready to transform your experience, that will empower you to embrace your entrepreneurial identity and attract the recognition you deserve. So it's really about taking the next step, understanding who you are as a person, what you need, transform your journey into a captivating brand that shines with brilliance, beauty, and authenticity. So it's about understanding what branding really is, understanding that mindset is the fuel to entrepreneurship, to entrepreneurial success, crafting a personal brand and a company brand, and why both are important. And then we also talk about the art of visual branding and the power of colors. So if you want to join me, it's running from Monday till Wednesday for 1 hour a day. We're getting together. It's a workshop style challenge, and you get everything you need in order to get clarity and also the confidence to conquer this roller coaster ride of entrepreneurship.
That's a very good descriptive word for entrepreneurship, a roller coaster for sure. I love that. The challenge sounds so exciting. And I think you're going to take people on a journey, Bridget, because there's so many of us. Would it be appropriate for someone who already, say, has a brand, but maybe feels disconnected to their brand as well?
Yes, absolutely. So it's also for people who are on this journey, who are, I had once participants who had like a 20-year business or 30-year business, and they wanted to revamp their brand and wanted to go to the core of it. So it's beautiful to have, different people coming from different stages in their business, because it's the community that makes it also really interesting what they share in this hour. It's really interesting. So I have people coming from academia, I have people coming from corporate, or they still are and they have a business on the side. So it's really nice to get together and talk about branding from different perspectives, because branding is really a holistic concept. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And for those that are watching today that are maybe more seasoned entrepreneurs, maybe you already have a brand. How do you know, Bridget, if it's time to change your branding at all? And I'll do a question, the second part to that question, which you asked me. Do you ever anticipate your branding changing again?
Oh, not for now, because I'm really living and breathing it. And for me, it's really fine. I don't know what is going to be in a couple of years. If something like major is happening in my life, usually it comes with a major change.
Yeah.
With a major change that comes from the inside or maybe from the outside, there's external, internal triggers. But you feel it when there is time to change. When you feel something that is not the fit anymore. There needs to be the fit on all the different layers. So I think you need to reflect on that. And I think you feel it when there is the time to change. And of course, when you think you're taking on another business, I think when you're, let's say, it also depends on the brand name, and you're going into another category where the brand name, there is not the real fit. You need to think how to integrate that. Maybe you go with another brand, start another business. So that is called the different branding strategies going forward. You have to overthink that, because it's a major decision. When you have a brand that is, let's say, a yogurt brand goes into consulting. Cosmopolitan magazine went into yogurts. It did not work. Yeah.
Right.
So you need to think about that. Yeah. This is on a bigger picture. Yeah, so
it's another situation, I'm sure, where you need that. Sometimes it's helpful to have that other pair of eyes, because we do have that attachment to what we're doing. And sometimes, like, I know I'll speak for myself here. I have all the ideas, right? And so sometimes I might have all the ideas and be really excited about them, but because I'm attached to those ideas, I'm not necessarily seeing that they don't really work together. And so I'll message Brittany or someone else and I'll say, hey, like, I have these 12 ideas. Do they make any sense together? So it's helpful.
Yeah. So if it's a different category, you need to really see whether there's a fit, if that aligns. Yeah. So if you can take the so-called brand equity, that's what makes your brand strong. Can you transfer that into the other category? And is there still a fit when it comes to the name?
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a lot to think about. And I know that there's so much more that we could talk about this topic. Is there anything that you would like to leave our audience today about branding? I know we've covered a lot today, but I would love to leave them with a final thought.
Branding. Yeah. So start early on, build your brand and never stop. And do not let others define you. And that's why I think it's so important to start early on. And then I would like to say something to also for when it comes to entrepreneurs and when it comes to the breakdowns and the breakthrough, since this is the breakthrough show. I've recently read a book by David Goggins, Never Finished. And he says mountains of adversity and hardship become speed bumps. And that makes it easier to adapt to the road ahead and build a new life or sense of self. You brave. So I think that is really, really true. And that's what I want to leave you now. Just don't give up.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Bridget, for being here today. This was such a pleasure. And like Brittany says, I agree. I didn't know we were going to be talking about branding and getting teary-eyed at the same time, but we did. And it was such a great experience. Please visit Bridget at BridgetBrands.com. Also, all of her links and a link to the challenge and whatnot is down in the show notes as well. So please feel free to click that and join Bridget for that challenge. Bridget, thank you again for being here today. You were an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching or listening wherever you are in the world today. And I want to remind you that every day is a great day for a breakthrough. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.